So I'm in a room with 8 people interviewing me. It's a round table. I come in, I'm wearing this wool sweater that is oversized because it wasn't mine. And I'm sweating. I give him my DVD to show him what I've done so far in school. Like, so it's just a demo reel, a breakdown of what I know, right? My best work. It wasn't that great. And it doesn't work.
Make a choice. Be a champion. We are back. The Savage Hour Podcast. I'm your host, Chad George. As always, La Jefa. What's up, DJ?
Hello, what's up?
How are you?
Good.
Good. It's a new year, 2020.
Yes.
We are, got a lot of stuff planned. Another show today. I'm excited about our guest.
Yes.
Longtime friend of mine, Adil Mustafabekov. It's going to be good. How's things been with you?
Good. Busy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's get right into it. Today we have a very good friend of mine, Adil Mustafabekov. He is an artist at Disney Animation, a jiu-jitsu brown belt. Him and I have been friends for, it's been 12 years at least. And he came here from Azerbaijan. And today we're going to hear his story, not just about how he got here, his ups and downs with being a professional artist, everything he's been through, and also a martial artist, and seeing how that all connected together. So, what's going on, AD?
Not much, man. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm really stoked to have you on.
Yeah, likewise, man.
First of all, let's just get right into it. You're from Azerbaijan. Let's hear a little bit about that.
So, I was born in Azerbaijan, Baku, Azerbaijan. That's the city, and I lived there for like about 2-3 years. There was war going on against 2 different countries, and we just couldn't stay there. My dad and my mom being from different sides. My dad being more like Azeri and my mom being Armenian. That was the war at that time, I believe, from what I could remember, what I could recall. And we had to leave. We had to leave and find a place to live. So the only other place that would take us in, kind of, was Russia.
Now, was that asylum?
Kinda.
Okay.
I mean, in a way, from what I could recall, I don't think they really wanted us there because we had our own home. But the problem was there was 2 different sides that were fighting each other, and we couldn't go to Armenia, we couldn't go to Azerbaijan. So in a way, Russia was like you said, an asylum. But Russians are different too. It's their homeland. In any case, we did. I mean, it was fine. Like we didn't really have any issues, but we knew we had to get out of there too. So. I think around when I was like 6 or 7 years old, my parents applied for almost like a sponsorship,
mm-hmm.
or not a visa, but like to migrate to the States. You know, that was everybody's dream, is to come to the States, right? And went in to American Embassy. We applied and gave them our story. Like, look, we have no place to stay. We need a home. We can't stay in Azerbaijan. We can't go back or we can't go to Armenia. Can't really live in Russia. Can we come to the States? So I don't remember if it was quick or not because I was young, but they gave us a permission to come to the States. And they found us as sponsors. It was a wonderful family from Buffalo, New York. It was like a Christian or Catholic group. And they sponsored us, brought us over, put us up in a church attic. That's
wow.
where I kind of lived for a little bit because we had no home, we had nowhere to stay, so we stayed in a church attic for like a month or so.
Wow.
And then found us a home. It was I guess you want to call it a halfway home, where we live with other people that also migrated and just don't have any money. And we lived there for a little bit, and they helped us out a lot. Like, we're wonderful people. Like, I had nothing, and they had kids, and their kids would like. They knew I was going to school, so I will never forget this. They found out I was going to school, and they gave me a backpack. I was like, oh, thank you so much. And then I remember opening the backpack, and it was a backpack full of toys, Star Wars toys.
Oh, wow.
Like the old school Star Wars toys. I wish I would have kept them because probably worth a lot of money now. But in any case, it was just such a wonderful gesture. Like, we're really good people. They gave us, when they moved us into, we kind of lived in this almost like Section 8 type of place,
mm-hmm.
where we were getting help. They were helping us. They were buying us furniture, like secondhand, or handing it down. So Yeah, so slowly my parents started working, making a little money here and there. It wasn't anything crazy. My mom was a housekeeper. She would clean houses. My dad was the dishwasher. And I was just going to school.
Hard labor, like that's.
Yeah, and I mean, at that time they weren't paying us money because they were like, look, they were paying us below minimum wage. We're paying because we're migrating and we just needed money. So my parents were kind of were willing to do whatever it takes just to make some cash, right? So yeah, it was hard. It was hard growing up. Hard as in from what they tell me, right? They kind of try to hide it from me, but I had my own little battles in school. Like I always fought, got beat up a lot. Didn't really speak English. You had people that would protect you, and then you had people that just constantly beat you up. But I always put up a fight. I tell you that. I got beat up a lot, but I always fought back. That's the one thing. I got beat up a lot, but I fought back, and there were times where people just stopped picking on me because they knew at least I would fight back. So, yeah, and then slowly, kind of as we became established, we moved out to California, and that was when I was 11 years old. So I'm now almost 38. So
getting old, man.
Yeah, man. Jesus. I met you when I was 26.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Been a long time.
Yeah. And that's where I came from.
It's funny, like obviously my story is with my background. When I was a kid, I got bullied a lot.
Yeah.
And I got in a lot of fights too. But it's funny how once you start standing up for yourself, things start to change. Especially for you, you come from another almost basically another world.
Yeah.
And I'm sure not being able to speak English had a big impact on that. Yeah.
It was hard. Yeah, because I remember I was taught the first thing about English that I was taught was like, learn how to say I don't speak English. So that was most of the time that's what I was saying. Luckily we had ESL classes over there, so I was always in ESL classes, and that's what kind of started getting me understanding English. And then as a kid you tend to pick up a language pretty quick than when you're like in your 30s.
Right.
So I was able to pick up English within a year, and I had my neighbor, which was interesting. My neighbors, or our neighbors that were living below us, in this little house, they were American and they were taking Russian courses. It was a random thing.
Interesting.
So they would try to speak to me in Russian, because I speak Russian. My home language is not Azeri, because back in the day, Azerbaijan used to be part of Russia. So that was their main language. Now I think it's a mixture of both. It's Azeri, which is kind of like Turkish, and Russian. My neighbors in Buffalo, they were like talking to me a little bit in Russian, and then broken Russian and English, where I could understand them and kind of pick up the English language a little bit faster. So that was great.
That's cool.
It was nice, man. There's a lot of good people in this world where they want to help you. So
and it's funny because they always stand out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like there's always tons of people that it sucks because it's jaded by the amount of people that just don't give a shit.
That's
And if you really start opening up, you're like, man, like that's a good person. That's a good person. Yeah. That's if you're lucky to be able to find those people and have them in your life, they can really make huge changes.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah.
So we get here. We're building this new life. When did art come into your life?
Oh, art came into my life when I was like 3 years old. I don't remember. I think it was like, let's say between, I don't want to know. I think 2. Maybe I was drawing a little bit, but I don't remember that. But I know between 3 and 4, that's when I started to draw. And like, I wouldn't say I was a loner, but I like to be by myself a lot, and that's how I got away from things. Where I just go into my little room, or I wouldn't even have a room, but I would just go into the kitchen. And I remember my grandma would always, and this is still this was in Russia. She would buy me a bunch of just like a album where I could do my drawings, and I would just sit there for hours and just draw random stuff. But the one thing I remember, and this is a pretty interesting story. I was a big fan of gum.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they still do them. It's like bazookas.
Yeah, where they do the comic strips.
Yeah. So it was like a Disney-esque gum. I don't know if it was like real or not, but it had Donald Duck on it. For some odd reason, I really loved that character. And I was drawing that. I tried to draw that character, and I was like 3 or 4 years old. For a whole day, I was just drawing, and I couldn't get it. I kept practicing. I couldn't get it. Finally, I got it, right? And I was so happy. I kind of vaguely remember those moments that I ran to my mom or my aunt. I was like, look at this. Because over there there's a lot of people living in one place, just the whole family, and I was so happy. So fast forward to 11th or 12th grade in the States. I haven't drawn Donald Duck at all since that time, and I'm like, that memory just hit me, and I'm like, let me try to draw him without looking at anything. I practiced that thing, drawing him so much that it was embedded in my mind, and I was able to do the lines.
That's awesome.
And I was like, I flipped out, because I was like, it's like you programmed your brain to just automatically do that, because you've done it so much that I was able to just draw. I could probably draw it with my eyes closed, which is weird, but yeah. So for me, I think art I grew up with it, and I always loved art. I always loved drawing, just anything. I love even drawing stick figures and creating wars between each other. It's just,
that's cool.
Just random stuff, man. I don't know. I just was always fascinated with it.
I think that's one of the cool things about like our relationships, that
Yeah.
we were able to connect with that stuff at a very like beginning stage of our friendship
Yeah.
was there, because my background is in art. I don't believe that I ever got to any level where you're at as far as like where you've taken it. I mean, I like to have fun. I've done some decent stuff.
But you had your own company too, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I did.
I remember that's how we were talking about it. So.
I had my own studio, and I did this stuff professionally for a long time. But for me, it was always fun, and it never felt like it was like that deep seated passion like martial arts found me. And man, then I see the stuff that you're doing now. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man! Like the projects that you're working on. It's really cool to see you doing what you're doing at Disney now.
Yeah.
And but I know that Disney is obviously not what you've always done.
No.
So let's talk about a little bit of the journey that it took to get to Disney where you're at now.
So, when you say journey, do you want me to talk about my professional career, or just how, like, from school and...
Let's do both.
All right, so I think since I got into high school, even just growing up, I knew I wanted to be an artist. I don't know what I wanted to do, but I just wanted to do art.
And I think that's where a lot of people are, right? Like when they start out, they don't know what they want to do, and they like, oh, I have this one thing, but they put it in their mind like, oh, but this will never be what I do for a living.
You know, that's a good point, because I've been told, like, I don't know if you could be successful. There's so many artists, or like maybe you should become something that's more stable, like become a doctor or a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Like that one is a guarantee for most part, right? Because you could learn. There's always skillful lawyers that are just born with that, talent, or doctors, but I think if you really practice long enough and keep doing it, you'll be good at it.
Right.
You may not be like LeBron James of basketball, but if you play basketball long enough and you keep doing it, I think you could still make it to the NBA and be good.
Right.
So anyway, so in high school I always drew. Went to community college to get my AA, so I don't have to pay for a full 4-year college, so I could transfer. Also art, just kept taking art classes and getting my general education, and then I was able to apply to many schools. Applied to Art Center, applied to CalArts, and these are all in California.
Mm-hmm. Those are the big ones, like these
big ones, man. UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
UCLA wasn't too big, but UCLA had a name. I was like, oh, I always wanted to go to UCLA, and applied to Otis of our College of Art and Design.
Mm-hmm.
It's right here near LAX. So a lot of schools all of the schools didn't accept me except Otis, which was like, I had no other choice. Which it wasn't a bad school. It was just like, my main school, I wanted to go to Art Center to become a car designer, transportation designer.
Yeah.
But my portfolio wasn't good enough. My portfolio was kind of more of a live drawing, like humans and stuff like that, right? Anyway, so I got accepted into Otis College of Art and Design, and then from there, got accepted as a sophomore. So I was going through basic classes as learning how to paint, figure drawing, live drawing, and then they kind of try to see where your focus is, and my interest was always illustration.
Mm-hmm.
Just love drawing. Come to the end of my sophomore year there, I went to my favorite teacher. He's like one of my favorite teachers. Very inspirational, and just a really good artist. And I asked him, I'm like, look, do you think I could get a job as an illustrator? Go try it. Like, that's the whole goal, is get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
So I think 3 or 4 people applied, and I got lucky. I was the one that they really liked, and it was pretty crazy because I don't really have any nice clothes. And I'll remember this. So I'm in a room with 8 people interviewing me. It's a round table. I come in, I'm wearing this wool sweater that is oversized because it was in mine. and I'm sweating. Give him my DVD to show him what I've done so far in school. Like, so it's just a demo reel, a breakdown of what I know, right? My best work. It wasn't that great, and it doesn't work.
The DVD didn't work.
DVD didn't work, and they're like, "Oh man," I was like, "I got a VHS." So at that time, VHS was still a thing.
Wow. Okay.
So plug in the VHS, and they said, like, "Okay, good work," but and they're like, "You know what really impressed me? That you came prepared
With the backup.
with the backup. You had a backup. You were like ready to just." So it wasn't my skill that impressed them. That I did have some sort of a talent, but what impressed them is that I was on time, came prepared, decently dressed. I hope, like I thought I was decently dressed.
Well, you were dressed.
Yeah, I was. Dude, I was. I was afraid to take off my sweater because I knew I was going to be drenched in sweat underneath. Anyway, and I got that job as an intern, and it was 3 months or 4 months prior to graduating getting my bachelor's.
Mm-hmm.
And for most of the time, I would just go to my teachers. I'm like, "Hey, I understand we have class, but can I just go to Sony and just be there? Because they have classes there too. They teach new hires how to use their system." And I would just always spend my time there and trying to meet people, learn from those people, and just create relationships. So come to graduation, this one lady, Sandy Scordos, she was over there. I was interning under the training department, and she took a liking to me. She was an amazing woman, and I told her I'm graduating. She's like, okay, and she went to different. So there were a few films going on at that time. It was Monster House, Open Season, Surf's Up, a couple other VFX like Spider-Man. So she set up an interview with the heads of like VFX soups of those films to interview me and see if potentially I could fit in and kind of get like a junior level or whatever job. And I interviewed for all those movies, and what happened was, and then she set me up with a PA position for Superman.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
now, for people that don't know what a PA position is.
Personal assistant.
Yeah.
So you need coffee, I'll go get your coffee. You need for me to take notes, I take notes. Whatever you need, I'm just there. The goal for me was to get your foot in the door, prove yourself, and then work your way up.
Right.
Like, if you work hard enough, you'll get there. That's how I see it. Just put your head down and just keep working, believe in yourself, and you'll get there. Nothing's easy. I mean, you tell me, right? Like, if everything was easy, everybody would be able to do it, and we would be great, but then it's like you don't really appreciate things.
Right. I mean, a lot of people are going to argue, well, I put a lot of effort in everything and nothing ever works. Well, that's because you go into it with that same mentality of nothing ever works.
Yeah. You're already doubting yourself. Never doubt yourself. And I don't want to quickly bring it to like MMA or jiu-jitsu. If you doubt yourself on the mats or in the fight, you're going to lose.
Yeah. That's it.
Be confident in yourself.
That's it. I mean, that's a life lesson, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're doubting yourself before you even go out there and cross the street, you're never going to cross the street.
Yeah. That's kind of sad, but
it's a silly connection, but it's the truth. Like you'll sit there and always think, man, there might be a car. There might be a car. There might be a car. Oh shit, there's no car. Maybe a plane's going to fall down. You know what I mean? Like you create these delusions of grand gesture before like anything's even happened.
Yeah.
So all right, so you're getting ready to graduate.
Getting ready to graduate, and so 2 of the films passed. They were like, sorry, you don't have enough experience, and bigger companies usually need to have five or more years of experience to work for them. So on my graduation day, and I haven't heard back from Open Season, and on my graduation day, I get a call. Like I'm sitting in the chair, and it was like, hey, we'd like to offer you an artist position. It's a junior TD, junior technical director. Basic stuff. You just kind of start from the bottom and work your way up. So the person that I met for that position was April Nobby. She was my mentor, and so was her husband, Dave Bleish. They've really, April. She passed away, but she meant a lot to me, and so did her husband. They really took me under their wing and kind of helped me grow into where I'm at today. Like
that's awesome.
I owe them a lot. And I gave her my reel. Like a few weeks before graduation, I was like, "Here's my reel. I'm going to be interviewing with you."
Were you wearing the same sweater?
No. I was just wearing regular clothes because I was like, I just passed by her office and I gave her my reel, and I was like, "Hey, I'm going to be meeting with you." And so the funny thing is, she never met with me. I just exchanged a brief conversation with her when I gave her my reel.
Right. Yeah.
And when I got that call, I was like, hey, April would like to give you that opportunity to come on her show and kind of, start working. Oh my God, thank you so much. And I asked her, when she hired me, I came in and I asked her, I was like, oh, can you please tell me, like, what was it? And she's like, because she didn't even interview me. She's like, look, the interaction that we had, I felt like you were a pretty decent human being. I felt like I could work with you. I didn't even need to look at your reel. Like,
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, she like gave me a. Not a lot of people give you that chance, man. This is just. I want to say it was luck too. Like people say, well, it's not luck. It's.
Now listen, here's my feeling about luck. Luck only happens when you do the things that put you in that position for luck to occur.
Yeah.
Right. So you did everything to put yourself in that position. It wasn't luck.
Yeah.
That was a stream of things that you've done in your entire life to get you right to there at that moment. So luck can be very, very deceptive of what that word actually means.
No, that's a good point. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So yeah. And she's like, I think I wanted to give you a chance. You seem like a normal dude, and let's see what you could do. And yeah, man, I work. So she goes, do you know how to texture paint? So texture painting is something like.
Oh, the light's turned off.
Do you want it on?
Yeah.
Hit the button.
Yeah, I'll turn it back on. That was weird.
I mean, there was any kind of
Because it
romantic.
censors.
Yeah.
So you
Technical
find out.
difficulties.
Should have lit up some candles. So I kind of knew how to texture paint. So texture painting is something like, let's say, let me describe it this way. You get a 3D model, which is a grayscale model, and then you paint color on top of it, and you give it life to make it look like if it's a person. You paint the skin color, you paint the clothing color, and then you pass it on the pipeline. So imagine, like when we're kids, you could build this little, like you go to a store and you buy this little set and you put it together.
Mm-hmm.
It's gray, and then what you do is you take that gray set and then you take a real brush and you paint it like the little
Right.
planes. I don't know if you've done it.
Yeah.
So it's very similar, except you do it on a computer. And I was like, yeah, I know how to. And I remember somebody taught me a while back. It's like, never say no that you don't know how to do it. You could always learn. Set yourself up with that opportunity. Like if you're given that chance, take it. Because if you say no, that could be your last chance. So I was like, yeah, I know how to do that. She's like, okay, cool. So start Monday. Well, I took a week off, and we'll start Monday. And she gave me my first thing to paint on open season was the ladder. Now that week that I took off from graduating to work, did a lot of research. I mean, the internet wasn't that great, but I was like, I had book. Okay, this is how you do it. So I really try to teach myself how to do it.
In 1 week.
In 1 week.
Yeah.
But like I was saying, there's a lot of good people here, you know, in this world. So I met a few people along the way at Sony that were just amazing people, and I just I was like, hey, I'm struggling here a little bit. Can you tell me what I need to do to make it? Because some of the software I didn't know, so it was still fresh and new to me, and I had that should have taken me a day to do. It took me a week. Not even a day. She'd take me half a day. But she understood it because I was new. And she was like, and it came out pretty well, and she's like, okay, this is good. So she kept challenging me with harder and harder tasks to where then she would just leave me alone, and she put her full trust in me to where she could leave me alone and let me do whatever I needed to do to get the work done. Yeah, so that's how I got my break.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was, and I spent at Sony 9 years and 8 months. And then Disney. You want me to quickly talk about Disney?
Yeah, we'll get into that in a second. I want to touch on one of the things you said. It's funny because, you know, how you were saying that 1 week that you had off, you were like, I need to figure this out. I'm going to do what it takes. But I think that's where a lot of people ego get into, that they just don't want to ask for help. They don't want to admit that they don't know things. And I think that's the downfall to most people, is that they want people to already assume that they know everything, that they don't want to admit that they need to learn these tools. But it's like, we talk about this all the time on the show. We talk about that you don't know what tools you need until the questions are asked. Yeah. And then you have to go ahead and figure out how to answer the question. Just like what you did. He was like, yes. Yeah. Yes, I can do that. I know for me, I was just talking to a guy a couple weeks ago. We were talking about just speaking engagements, and we were talking about like just platforms. I said, yeah, I don't care. I'll talk in front of 20 people. I'll talk in front of 20 million people. And then after I walked away, I was like, oh shit, did I really just set myself up potentially talking in front of massive crowds? But the answer is yes. Like, if you want to get to that next level, you have to actually take the risks that are going to get you there. It's not going to be comfortable, because if it was comfortable, you'd already be doing it. And then eventually you'll build into that comfort zone like what you've done now. So then you accepted the challenge. There's been many other challenges that have been along the way, and then Disney.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this real quick: the comfort level. Knowing you, fighting, or anything that you take on is never comfortable.
No.
Do you still feel like your last fight? Were you comfortable going into that fight in terms of like, you still get those, like, I think that's one of the only, and you know what, with art too, any new project I start, I may know how to do it, or I may have the skill or the experience. I'm still not comfortable.
No, I think what it is this is every time that there's a challenge and there's potential for error, and you don't know the result and you don't know what's going to happen, if you are passionate about what you're doing, there's always going to be that fear. It's always going to be the unknown that you don't know what's in front of you. And so, like, even my last fight, I was terrified. It's not of the fight. I've learned how to get over the fear of the fight. But now it's the fear of, am I able to do what I'm supposed to do? Am I able to make the people that are here to support me continue supporting me? Am I going to make mistakes? And am I going to be able to do what I'm capable of doing? That's the fear. The fear is not doing what I believe now that I can do. And so it doesn't matter if it's art, it doesn't matter if it's business, it doesn't matter if it's fighting. Like, I'm fearful every single day now for different things that I was fearful of before. Because now today is different than yesterday. Tomorrow's different than today. And it's a new challenge. That's exactly it. And we talk about it, and we talk about the levels, right? Like, so every time you get to a new level, you're still going to be afraid because you don't know what's going to be in front of you. So that's one of the things I love about fighting is that when you have a fight, right, you have to prepare for it. That's a challenge. Then the day comes where you literally have to face that challenge. So where I'm sure it's very similar to when you get on these new projects, right? Yes, I'm excited. We got this new job. Oh shit. Now we have to do this job, right? Now we have to come up with these characters. We have to make it work. And then here's the hardest part about it is on a deadline, right? So you have this deadline, like a fight camp. There's a deadline. I have to do everything that I can to get ready for this deadline and not fuck this up, right? And then hopefully when the deadline is here, I'm able to do what I have to do, right? And for you guys, it's present. It's make sure that you guys are meeting this deadline to where you guys give not only like what they ask for, but essentially above and beyond what they ask for, because you need to wow them.
It's that, and then you're also passionate about it.
That's
right?
it.
Like, I never met an artist who, no matter how, like, let's say if they don't like the project they're working on, and if it's not even their project, whatever, I never met an artist that would be like, I half-assed it.
Well, because here's the thing, you have met those guys. Just not at the level you're at now.
Yes.
Right? So
that's a good point.
Because here's the thing, the level you're at now, essentially, I'm going to connect this to fighting, right? You're at the UFC level of art. And so the people, in order to get to that level, you have to have a passion that is undeniable. And everybody that you come in contact with is going to share that same passion because that's what allowed them to get to that stage. So that's why you don't see it now, because you're surrounded by people that have that same passion. And I mean, that's something that people miss out on just everything in life, is that if you surround yourself by people that are passionate about what you're doing, by osmosis, you are going to take on that same attribute and you're going to be passionate about what you're doing, even if you were second guessing it. But just because you're around it every day, you're going to rise to what that level is. And I'm sure that's how it is in the studio.
Oh, yeah. And I like to call it a healthy competition, too.
Absolutely.
In a way. Like, everybody respects each other, but they're also trying to, like, you're like, oh, man, look what they're doing. That looks amazing. I gotta keep up with that. Oh, this person learned this new software. I gotta learn that, too, to keep up. But it's never like, I'm better than you or you're better than me. It's a healthy...
At that level, it's like you're no longer afraid to tell somebody how amazing that looks. In fact, you want to be like, man, look what this dude's doing right now. Or even like you're working with people that respect your opinion too. So if you see something that might not be looking right, like in terms of, whatever we're about to show to directors, right? Let's say if I'm supervising, and I'm like, hey, you know what, that's a little bit off. Can we fix that? They don't see it as an insult. They don't see it as anything. They see it as constructive note, like, oh man, I didn't see that, thank you for that extra eye. Like, I always go to my peers and tell them, hey, can you take a look at this before I show it? I've been looking at this for 2 weeks, at this painting for 2 weeks. I may miss something, or I may be focused so much on one thing that I forgot about something else and I totally missed it. So I have people look at it and give me their opinion and notes, and then we're going to present, right? So I'm never afraid of being my work being not criticized, but given notes. I don't even really criticize, it's just give you notes.
it's positive.
It's constructive.
Constructive. That's
You know,
right.
there's a difference between constructive notes and deconstructive.
Yeah.
And the average person who's coming from an egotistical mindset or their own like whatever bullshit self beliefs, that's going to be a deconstructive.
Yeah.
Because they're saying it because they want to prove that their word's better.
Yeah. I
So,
hate that.
All right, so pivoting back, getting to Disney.
So with Disney, what it was is, working for Sony ImageWorks / Animation is a great company too. I mean, it's a big company, right? Actually, Spider-Man was one of the movies that kind of inspired me to get into this industry as well. And Sony does all the Spider-Man movies. My goal was always to work for Disney. That was my passion. I visited my aunt. She knew a few people at Disney. I don't know how. She was a lawyer. My aunt is a lawyer, and she was able to set up this when I was 13 years old or 12 years old. Set up this meeting where I would go to Disney and show them my portfolio. But my portfolio sucked. Like, I was still a young kid just drawing, and I visited these. I wish I could remember who they were, because I actually want to know where they at now. Kind of thank them, because they pushed me and inspired me. What they told me was, after this on my work, and I know it wasn't good. They're like, keep drawing, keep improving. One day you'll get there. And I kind of took that, and I don't say ran with it, but that's what I was doing. I just kept practicing and drawing. Anyway, so when I went to Disney, I was like, I want to work here. And this is me at 12 or whatever, 13 years old. I want to work here. And when the opportunity opened up, there was a position. And it's really hard to get into Disney, because once you get in there, they hold on to the top of the top, right? So sometimes people move to different states, family emergencies, things like that. So the positions open up, and one position opened up, and I just jumped on it. I was like, I gotta go there. I don't care if I'm taking a pay cut. I don't care. I need to work for Disney. I interviewed with 5 people. Very intimidating, because one of them was a very old school, amazing guy too. Very nice. He actually was really, really nice to me, because I expected to be like, well, what makes you good enough to work for it? But again, it's like when you when you talk to people like normally as a human being, everybody's nice.
Yeah.
You don't want to psych yourself up to like, oh, I'm not good enough in this. So I went in there, and they saw my portfolio. They were really happy. So one of the guys that I was talking about is Dave Getz. He's a legend, and he complimented me on a few things, and I was like, man, this is coming from a legend. This is amazing. Felt like the interview went well, and it did. I got a call, and they're like, hey, we're interested in giving you a position. Are you interested? I was like, hell yeah. So I took the position, and that was it was 5 years. In last November, it turned 5 years. So I was at Disney for 5 years already.
Wow, you've been there for 5
Yeah,
years
isn't
now.
that crazy? Yeah. Because
I remember when you
you.
messaged me, or it was a message or a phone call, and you were like, I'm going to Disney.
Yeah.
And I was like so happy for you.
Yeah.
I was so happy for you.
I don't know if it was either a message or I actually came by and talked to you. We sat down, and I was like, look, I don't know if I'll be...
That's what it was, because we were talking about training, and you were
Yeah.
like, and it was one of those things. You're like, listen, I think I'm gonna have to stop training.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
and we're gonna get into training later.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like that was we sat down and talked about it.
Yeah.
And I remember you were asking me like, what should I do? Like you were like split between. I said, dude, you gotta go to Disney.
Yeah.
Like don't even think about this stuff. Like get your ass and go.
And it was a 9-month gig, so it was a gamble. You go in there, so you get, I believe it's a probation period, which is 90 days, 3 months. So within the 3 months, man, you gotta perform, and I tried my best. And the way I saw it is like, when I took that gamble, because I had a stable full-time job at Sony. When I went to Disney, I was like, first of all, I wanted to be there. Second of all, I was like, not to sound cocky, like, I'm good enough. I'm gonna prove myself that I'm worth keeping. And lucky they, after so my first project was Utopia. After that project, like 2 months leading up to, or a month leading up to my last day at Disney, they called me and they're like, hey, we'd like to extend you for another project. And it paid off, man. I just worked hard. It was difficult, but I really worked hard. Like, I believed in myself, like I could stay. And that's why I took that gamble. And then it's like, what happens if you don't take that gamble? You're gonna regret that for the rest of your life.
Yeah, man.
Like, what ifs. You don't want to have those what ifs, especially when it comes to a company like Disney, where you want it to be. So I ended up over there, and it's been over 5 years now.
That's awesome.
5 years and 2 months. Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, you're working for Disney now with what you first started sketching.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like kind of came full circle.
Yeah, it's interesting how life turns out. You know, like I came from a country where, yeah, they do films and art there too, but I never knew that. You know, you never know how your life is going to end up. What my parents were thinking, moving out here, and yeah, it's a blessing too, man.
You know, a lot of people like to say that, oh, I came from this beginning, so I could never be this, or things never lined up for me. Like they make excuses for everything, you know. And one of the things we talk about all the time, and this is a big part of my staple statement, is that you have to continue to keep fighting for what you want, and as long as you don't stop, you're not going to fail. And me personally, I think that fighting is something that has defined me as a person, and I know you've been through fighting as well, but it was never intentional. Like you started just kind of doing martial arts for you, and
boxing.
The boxing what you started with, right?
Yeah, man. So here's the thing, like growing up, I always loved watching fights, boxing. I always loved boxing, and my supervisor at Sony, Patrick, I don't know if you remember Patrick.
I remember Patrick, yeah.
Big buff guy.
Yeah, he took classes with me.
Yeah, so Patrick comes by and he knows that we're working crazy hours trying to meet deadlines, and he's like, hey, he would come by my office sometimes and he sees me looking at boxing photos or whatever, and he's like, I noticed you like boxing. There's a gym that just opened up across the street. You want to go check it out? Like, yeah, let's do it. And first day I came in there, man, I was hooked. I sucked. I didn't even know how to jump rope, you know? But since I already had that love for boxing, and
if I recall, you were a little out of shape back then too, because you know, for people that aren't there, if you're not watching this, if you're just listening to this episode, AD's super fit, super in shape, and when he first started training, he was a different visual reference.
Well, I'll bring here's an example. So when I worked at Sony, my first few years there, we had a free Coke machine. Literally, you just get up, you press the button, Coke comes out. I would be killing about 10 to 15 Cokes a day.
Holy shit.
Caffeine and Coke. And then you go get a pizza and get back to work. But I loved what I was doing. It was like, it's art, so I don't care about anything else. I didn't really pay attention to my health. But I always wanted to be in shape. There was always that, like sometimes I get up and do push-ups. But then, you look at yourself like, damn, I will never be that. And I think by going to your gym and seeing, like, it just, there was a switch that, like, something happened where I was like, okay, I could get into that shape. And I remember, man, I was like, took a whole year to eat healthy. I was like, I'm going to get a six-pack, which sounds stupid, but, being young, I was like, I want to have a six-pack in my mid-20s. And full year I was eating healthy, drinking water only, and training with you. Got a six-pack. I don't know if it was beneficial or not, but that was my goal, and I said it, and I did it.
No, it was beneficial, not for the glamour effect, but for the fact.
I was going for the glamour, probably.
But you were, but here's the thing: you were going for the glamour effect, yes, but you set a goal and you stuck to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was one of those things that, regardless of whatever beauty reason you were doing it for, but you decided, I'm going to set this goal. I'm going to get this six-pack, and what it did is teach you, like, wow, holy shit, like, I'm disciplined. And I was able to achieve this goal.
Yeah, man.
And getting healthy is not easy. People think that, man, that person's just genetically gifted for that, or I've dieted and it doesn't work for me. Yeah, it's because you quit. Yeah. You quit before you were able to get a results.
Yeah, it takes time. It's like planting a seed. The tree's not going to grow right away. You gotta, keep watering it, attending to it, make sure which is, I guess, a weird thing to say, because I just planted grass at the house, so maybe that's why I'm finally seeing my grass grow. But it's like, for 3 weeks, I'm like, I've been watering this thing, how come my grass isn't growing? I'm like, and then you see it start growing. It's like, yeah, you got to keep doing it.
Yeah, that's it. And here's the thing: you got to have a good support system around you too, to help keep pushing you in that direction. I know me. I'm very on top. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? I'll call you on your shit.
Yeah.
Just like if you don't water your lawn, if you're not continuously watering it, it's not gonna grow. It's gonna die, and then you will find most people will find every reason to blame why it died, and it wasn't you.
Well, the sun wasn't right or something.
Yeah, it's like, no, it was you.
But you were very instrumental. When it came to my training, because I don't know, you kind of, I felt, you tell me, I felt like you did take me under your wing, and at that time I don't even know if you knew I wanted to fight or.
No, man, if we're talking 12 years ago, I've been fighting for 15 now. So, I mean, that was still in the very early stages of my career, me doing this. So, I was, I still had that fire in me of like being this fighter guy that was still trying to figure himself out. And I think just by default, my passion for it, I could see I was wanting to give that to other people as well. And so you just caught in on the early stages there.
Yeah, I got lucky. This is your stages of like funky hair.
Man, I was a mess, man. I was a mess. I was a young kid, but here's the thing: I said I was a mess, but I was still an artist back then.
Yeah.
I'm still an artist now, but I was still actively an artist, and my hair was just an expression of what I thought I wanted people to see me as.
Yeah.
I was still going through this self-investigation.
I think it was cool. It was
But
different,
it was different. It was also a different time in the sport.
Yeah.
It was a much different time. It was like, I think we had just gotten it legal in the state of California, and I was one of the first guys to be fighting in Cali.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
We just talked about how there was no really 135, so you had to fight in the upper weight class.
Yeah, it was like fight 35s, 45s. There was it wasn't any video on anybody. It was like, you want to fight this guy? And it's like, sure, why not? Like, I'm fighting, I guess.
Yeah.
And so it was the wild, wild west. But when I was coaching and teaching, I've always loved teaching.
Yeah.
I've always loved seeing other people, grow. And like when you came in, I saw you working hard, and I was like, man, cool. And we connected well.
Yeah.
And I know that we just started talking more and more about it. And then I remember one time, I don't know how did it start. Like I know because we did a boxing fight.
Yeah.
How did that start?
Start like in terms of how.
Like how did that even come about?
I think it was like.
I don't remember.
I was 6 months in training, so that's even my boxing fight was like 2 years down the line or so. But it was like 6 months in training, and I'm like, Chad, I want to spar. I thought I was like, I'm good. And you're like, no, man, you're not ready.
That's a common conversation too. We have this all the time in the gym where guys take classes for
ready.
a while, and they always go, I want to jump in competition training. Like, listen, calm down.
I wasn't ready. You were right, but you had to show it to me. How, and you're like, okay, let's get in the ring with me. And I remember you played with me for like 2 minutes and 58 seconds, and then you just hooked me to my stomach, and you dropped me. And I was like, yeah, I'm not ready. But it was like, you didn't hurt me or anything. You were showing me so many angles that, like, look, you still didn't even know how to defend yourself. Like, you may know how to throw a punch, but you don't know how to prepare or bob and weave, all that stuff. And I thought I was like the shit. I was like 6 months of boxing nonstop, man. I'm the shit. No, you're not, man. It was just being young and kind of like I'm a tough guy, kind of, which I never saw myself. And you just told me, it's like, okay, if you really want to fight, you're gonna set up a little boxing match. And it was actually at the gym, right? It wasn't even like a amateur. It was like a smoker, you said.
Yeah.
And it was between some of the guys that train at our gym. And you paired me up with Joe. Do you know him?
Yeah, I remember. It was we called it Fight Night.
Yeah.
Where we had it was really cool. We wanted to give the people that have been sparring and kind of, it was more of an advanced class, the opportunity to have almost a real fight scenario, but with somebody they're comfortable with.
Yeah, exactly.
Where we bring your friends, family, come down, watch you guys essentially fight. It's a sparring session, but
I mean, we went at it.
With the environment of a real fight atmosphere, with a referee,
cutting weight,
warm ups, and let's go.
Yeah. And I think it was like 2 years in, maybe a year. Maybe I would say 2 years in. Just you're like, okay, let's do it, and you set it up. And man, it was fun. Joe and I went at it. I gassed the first 30 seconds.
But isn't that funny? Like, you've been doing this for 2 years at that point, and then you gassed out in 30 seconds.
Oh, dude, I was nervous. It was scary. Why am I doing this? But then when you're done, you're like, this is the best thing ever.
And here's the funniest thing: it was against somebody you trained with.
Yeah, a friend.
It was a friend, and yet you have those nerves that are so terrifying that you gassed out in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
All we did was change the environment.
Yeah.
I use this analogy with a lot of my athletes, and I use this one all the time when I do speaking engagements as well. It's I call it the 2x4 analogy. Okay. Where if I give you a 2x4, I put it on the floor, right, and I say, AD, I'm gonna pay you $100 to walk on this 2x4. You think you can do it?
Yeah.
Right? No problem.
No problem.
Okay, tell you what. I'm gonna take that 2x4. I'm gonna raise it a foot off the ground.
Yeah.
A foot off the ground. Just a foot.
Yeah.
Just a foot.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna pay you $500. You gonna do it?
I'll do it.
Right? Cool.
Yeah.
So tell you what. Now I'm gonna raise the stakes. You see where this is going,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So now I'm going to raise the same obstacle. We're talking about the same challenge,
thing, yeah.
but now I'm going to raise it 5 feet up, just 5 feet,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to pay you $5,000.
I guess 5 feet is not too high, so I don't think I'll break anything.
Just $5,000. Give you $5,
hell
$5,000 in your pocket. Cool. But now I'm going to really change the odds. I'm going to take that same 2x4. We're going to put it a mile in the sky.
Nah.
But here, I'm going to pay you $1 million. $1 million to walk on that 2x4.
Nah.
But it's the same
It's
task.
the same thing, yeah.
Right? So it's the same
atmosphere,
task.
yeah.
The atmosphere changed, and now the environment changes where there's more risk.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's the same task that when it was on the floor where there was no risk,
Yeah.
no problem. Now you're sparring with the guy that you know, you're your friend, you do it every day. All of a sudden there's people watching, there's a winner and a loser, and the environment's changed,
Yeah.
but it's the same thing you do every day.
So different. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, right?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So how did that fight go?
Well, I don't think there was a winner or a loser.
See, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, but I feel like here's the thing. I think we didn't want to. I think even Seb was he was reffing, I believe. He didn't want to say, "Oh, you won" or "You won." He just wanted to.
If I recall, it was like if somebody won by TKO or knockout,
Yeah.
they would be the winner. But if it went to the score, if it went to the end, it was a draw.
Yeah, basically. I love Joe, but I won. Anyway, but it went great, man. It was awesome. We hugged it out at the end, and then I remember like I got that feeling. I was like, Chad, I want to fight. I want to do a Muay Thai fight, and I had no idea how to kick. I was afraid of kicking, afraid of breaking my legs or whatever. And I'm like, well, you got to start taking Muay Thai. And I just started getting involved in Muay Thai. And like for a couple of years, I started getting really good with Ed Wedding.
Mm-hmm.
He was our main Muay Thai coach. Whenever you would jump in and teach us too, or whenever I could spar with you. And then you set up a fight with me at the Crew Rex.
Yeah, it was actually a proper kickboxing.
It was a proper
Muay Thai.
amateur.
Yeah, fully sanctioned.
One of the best moments of my, I guess, whatever amateur fighting career, because I got to walk out with you and Josh Barnett. Dude, it's like two people that I looked up to, and Josh was, you and Josh were actually coaching me, and Lauren was fighting on the same card, and it was amazing. I lost that fight by not listening to you, not hearing. It's so true, man. Like, it's sad that I realized it towards later in my career that if you listen, you will win. But when you're in the heat of the moment, I think I was just swinging. I wasn't even kicking to score points.
Well, what happens is we expect. This is what fighting does, right? Like we get in there and we're so in this moment that we feel like we need to make this rational or irrational decision of what's happening.
Yeah.
But the problem is because you're emotionally charged, you're not making rational decisions.
No.
You're doing it all on emotion. And that's what your corner's for. If you have a good corner, your corner is actually seeing things that you're not processing. Our job is to see the things and hopefully be able to articulate to you in a way that you actually can understand it. Because fighting, you're in this state of chaos, right? There's this chaos going. And I see coaches all the time that are screaming and yelling and giving these commands. And it's like, yo, listen, they're already doing that in their own head. Mm-hmm. They don't need their supposed support system on the outside only validating the craziness that's going on inside.
Yeah.
We have to try to calm it down so where you can calm it down and actually even hear us.
Yeah.
A lot of times, a lot of athletes and fighters, I didn't even hear my corner. We're screaming and yelling, but they don't even hear them. That's how crazy the mind is going.
Yeah, that's insane. It's sad because I didn't realize it until you coached me for my first tournament. Like even my MMA fight, I didn't hear you, man. And it's
See, exactly, right.
And I remember, I don't know what happened during that tournament. Maybe because I wasn't gonna fight anymore. And you came up to me, and you're like, okay, listen to my voice. I'm just talking to you. Tune me in. And I remember that whole thing changed. Even though I placed third, but I felt like you were controlling me like a remote control, like a joystick, to win that match. Because I lost my first match because the guy was holding on. I remember that. You were pissed. The guy kept holding to my leg, and I just lost by whatever I think it was points. The second match, I had a chance to get third, and you really guided me to passing guard, taking the guy's back, and putting in the rear naked. And I took away from that. So that's what I tell now the up and coming students at the gym that I train at is like, tune me in. So when I'm coaching you, tune me in. Basically, everything that I've learned from you, I try to convey that. And sometimes they don't listen to, and I get it because I don't listen. But I really try hard, like, look, please listen, because when I was your age, I didn't do it. I'm telling you, it
Isn't
works.
that funny how that works? Like, we get to stages in our life where we start saying these things, and we go, hold on. That's something that was said to me.
Yeah.
No, I'm that guy
Yeah.
that's using that same message to get it across.
It's like I try to tell, and what's cool is like when I see older guys that are just getting into jiu-jitsu, mainly into jiu-jitsu, because I only do jiu-jitsu now. They come up to me and they ask me for advice, like, oh, how do you not get hurt? What do you do? And I'm like, man, that's cool that you're coming up to me and asking me for advice, because some people just come up to you and they just want to talk to you, but they don't really listen. They're like, look, I'm in my 40s. I know what's up. I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna take that advice from you, because you've been there. You're my age, close to my age, or whatever. So, it's very important. But you just learn that with experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's listening. I think is such it's almost a skill in itself, because people can hear you, but they don't listen.
Yeah.
Right, and
I heard you.
I know that's exactly it. Like, there's a big distinction. Right? Are you hearing me or are you listening?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, when they hear what they want to hear.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, I've had people go, oh, I thought you said this. And no, that's not what I said at all. Like, it was the farthest thing from that.
Yeah.
But their mind is going so crazy, they heard what they want to hear.
Yeah.
Lights out again. I think what's happening is that we're touching on so much like powerful topics that the energy of the lights just suck out. It's like, oh, I need a break.
It's too much.
It's too much. But like, even for me now, like, the way I coach now is even different than the way that I used to coach back then, because now I focus so much on making sure that the athletes can hear me. It starts with the way I talk to them in preparation, and then we go into the ring, and then the way I talk to them there, and then we do a voice check when we get in, because I want you to be able to focus on the task at hand and be able to have confidence that my voice is going to do my best to guide you. Because if I say move left and it was the wrong decision, let me deal with that.
I see.
Like that, let that be on my shoulders. Just your job is to go in there and do what you're supposed to do, and let me be the voice of seeing things that that I like. Hopefully, that I think I've been in this game long enough that I can see things.
Oh yeah, I know you do. I know you can. I mean,
and I think that the success comes from not just doing what you want to do; it's doing what you have to do. And that's what fighting is so important for. And I think, like, for myself, and I'll let you speak on this, but for myself, fighting has allowed me to really figure out so much about myself and going through adversity. Training for a fight is something that you grow from. And now, I mean, look at you were looking at boxing photos at work, and then all of a sudden a coworker said, hey, you want to go try out a boxing gym. That boxing gym then eventually got you a boxing fight. It got you a kickboxing fight. It got you into MMA. And now you're a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt.
Yeah. Damn. It's crazy, right?
All from a coworker saying, I want to check out this boxing gym.
Yeah, I owe Patrick a lot, man. He was a good dude. He was my supervisor too, which was awesome. And yeah, man. I'm lucky, because I don't know if he wouldn't say that, I don't know if I always wanted to go into a gym, but I don't think I ever had the guts or whatever. And it kind of, he was the one that was like, well, come with me. Let's try it out together.
Yeah, and that's what it is, right? You could have easily said, no.
Yeah, and I don't know where I would be.
Right?
Like, I don't even know where I would be. We were talking about, tasks at work. Like, for me, tasks at work, they're still challenging, and you stress out, how am I going to get those done? But what's interesting is that because of fighting, I've experienced so much where it's like, man, I was, in a ring or in a cage one-on-one. Nothing else matters after that. Like, it's like it's not a life and death situation, but it could be, right? So everything after that becomes very, not easy.
It's not that it's easy, but the fact that you have to face yourself.
Yeah.
You have to face your fears. You have to face the fact that I'm about to get punched in the face. We've learned from a very young age that getting punched in the face hurts.
Oh yeah.
We've seen it from movies, we've seen it from everything, and now you have to stand toe to toe with this individual who's not only trained to fight.
Yeah.
They've literally trained to fight you.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? And some of them are actually like, I was a professional already working at a company, I had a career, and I had this MMA or this this was a hobby that I'm super passionate about. Like, it's not just I just want to try this and do it for fun. Like, I really wanted to involve myself in MMA, and I built so many great relationships.
I was seeing that thing flying around too.
I built so many relationships, so many good friends through training with you guys, that I call close friends, right? And there are guys that are just, that's all they do is their career is fighting.
Yeah.
And their goal is like, all they do is they go and train, sleep, train, sleep, train. I have to go to work, so I have to train, go to work, then go train again at night.
Yeah.
And it was, and it was like, what was I doing? But I think it's just.
I would like to say that it was really connected together. Like you fighting, you training, and you going to work were honestly the same path line, right? Because fighting and training was building that grinding work ethic that you needed to keep pushing you to that level to get you to where you are at Disney now. Because nobody can get to that elite level of anything without having that drive.
Yeah.
And through fighting and training and going through that day-to-day routine, I mean, you're constantly grinding.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, you're grinding.
It's hard.
And you got to you can make every excuse in the world why you can't go to the gym and train. Or you say, I've already committed to this, I'm doing this. It's hard as hell, and that's why I'm going to do it. Where most people take the easy route.
Yeah.
They'll say, oh, you know what, I haven't rested today. I need to go home, relax for a few. You're not going to get off the couch after you do that. It's impossible. It's the same reason why you're never going to get to that next stage.
I'm about to get it, I swear.
There's a little bug flying around.
Anyway,
The little net.
you know what's
Yeah.
funny? Like during, I just knocked it out. It was during that time when I was getting ready for my MMA fight. You actually forced me to go home one time. I showed up to the gym and you saw me because we were like 2 weeks away or whatever, and you saw me and you're like, you need to go home because I couldn't even throw a punch. I was just so done or like overtrained, and I think it was it was you who pushed me. Like, you were the one, you kind of had to start telling me like, hey, you got to take the day off today. Just go home, because I knew what I need to do. I wanted to train. I know the other guy was training, and and I knew the other guy was training, and I just wanted to be there because I don't want anybody to one up me. It's one versus one, and but it changed my whole perception on things. It changed me as a person, especially jiu-jitsu. That loss that I had in MMA, where a wrestler, he beat me, just kind of wrestled me, and I had no wrestling, not much of a wrestling background, and I was like, I need to become a better grappler, and I really started focusing on my jiu-jitsu, and I kind of just got sucked into it.
It's not fun because you were a striker.
Yeah.
You were a striker, and that was your thing. You're like, I'm a striker. Now you don't even strike, right?
No, man, I hate it. No. It's not fun. Yeah, it's not fun getting punched in the face.
But it's funny. It's not fun. But I personally think everybody needs to.
Oh yeah.
I think you need to get punched in the face. You need to see that you're not going to break. You also need to see what you're made of.
Yep.
Because that way you understand what your limits are.
And I think you said it too, or you said it a few months ago. Like, if you're coaching, if you're teaching, you need to have been punched in the face.
I think so.
It's experience. Like, if you've never been punched, how are you going to teach somebody else to take a punch or to block a punch?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I think that's also, it's experience. And if you don't have experience, it's like, well, you might be lying to me. So I think that's very important.
I mean, experience is everything.
Yeah.
There is no better teacher than experience.
Mm-hmm.
And fighting, I mean, you're going to lose, you're going to lose, you're going to lose, you're going to lose, and hopefully you're going to get that moment of victory.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to lose again, you're going to lose some more.
Yeah.
But all that loss is really the pathway for you to be able to win.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that winning is not about what happens at the end of the rainbow. It's the process that it took you to get there. Because as soon as you win or you lose, the process is going to continue. And we're always going to be faced with these developments.
Yeah.
We're always going to be faced with new challenges. So just because you won or you lost doesn't mean that that's going to be anything for the next challenge. That just means now the process starts over.
Yep.
And so you have to lose. You have to get punched in the mouth, figuratively and and literally.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that, okay, I got knocked down. I have a choice. Do I stay down or do I get up?
Yep.
And then when I get up, what do I do with that?
Yeah.
Do I complain about the fact that I got knocked down, or I dust myself off and realize that that's what's going to propel me
Mm-hmm.
to the next level?
Yeah.
Man, was that?
Do you know what's interesting is that you said like I was always into striking. I consider myself a striker. I didn't really want as a striker. Most of my wins came as a jiu-jitsu competitor.
That's funny.
And I think that a lot of those losses built or helped me become a winner. And to me, jiu-jitsu, winning or losing is not really a thing. I just enjoy doing it for the competition, for myself personally. I think it's fun. It brings me back to the old days of like training and getting ready, making weight, being disciplined, and still showing that, look, not that I'm old, but you could be a professional, you could still compete, and you could do both. But a lot of things that I've taken away from when it comes to mixed martial arts or jiu-jitsu, most of the things I take away is when I lose.
I mean, that's it, right? We sorry to cut you off, but I mean, I talk about this with some of our guys that you can go out there and knock a guy out every single time with one punch. Boom! You're like, oh yeah. Boom! Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You don't learn anything from that. Yeah, you learn that you have a good punch.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do when you lose?
Yeah. Well, what happens when a guy could take that punch?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do then, right? But yeah, it was one of my losses in Vegas, and it was not a loss. I kind of DQ'd myself, but it was a struggle where I couldn't pass somebody's guard, and it was a simple guard pass that I learned since when I was a white belt. I just didn't click for me. And at the end, my coach, Chris, he pulled me aside. He's like, dude, I was yelling at you to do that, but he was so far away that I couldn't hear him. Or maybe I heard him and I just thought I knew what I was doing, most likely. But funny is like, and then he's like, oh man, you're so right, I could have used that pass. It's like, yeah man, that's the pass you go to when somebody just wraps around you and try to hold on to you to just win. So, come back from Vegas, I'm frustrated, I'm like, I gotta compete again. Like, I don't want to lose, or I want to feel like I didn't feel satisfied. I would have rather lost by point than just by referee kind of disqualifying me because of my big mouth. So I remember that pass. The next tournament I do, what do? The guy's holding on to me, and that moment when I should have used in Vegas when I should have used that pass, I used it in that competition. Passed the guy's guard, almost darts him. Thanks to you, I was able to take his back, kind of almost strangle him, but I beat him by points. It was my finals.
Gotcha.
And because of, I would say, that loss in Vegas, I was able to win in my next tournament.
That's it.
And if I wouldn't suffer that in Vegas, or if I wouldn't have gone through that in Vegas, most likely I probably wouldn't be able to win in my next tournament, Jiu-Jitsu World. So it's very important, like, not losses, but just like hardship.
Yeah.
I think if you don't struggle, then it's like, first of all, it's like, what's the point of living if everything's easy? I think struggling is what you learn from it. If everything comes easy to you, then it's like, there's not really a point. Like, what kind of life is that? At least for me personally. That's why when it comes back to art, I like having these projects that challenge you, because if they didn't, it's like, why am I doing this? So that keeps the fire alive for me.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I think that, once we embrace the fact that the fears are what are going to propel us, the losses are going to propel us, the unknown of how to complete this task is what's going to get us to the next level. It allows us to really kind of live a different life. It's no longer being afraid of the fear, it's standing up to it and admitting that you don't know what to do or you're afraid of it, and being able to say, yes, I am afraid of this, and I'm ready to take the challenge. Because that's all it is, because that's what, in my opinion now, it's like that's what makes life exciting, is standing up to the things that before you didn't want to do, standing up to the bully, standing up to the fight, and standing there and go like, listen, I don't care if I get knocked down by you. I'm going to stand right here and I'm going to do my best to make sure that I am standing here even after.
But what's the worst that could happen, right? I think we make it out to be like, oh, well, people won't like you anymore. Or when it comes to like anything, not only fighting, but like, I think we make it out to be in our head, in our brain, that it's this big thing.
For sure.
It's not, man, because other people also go through things.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think we make ourselves the center of attention, but we really aren't, because other people have other things going on, and it's like, you told me when I lost my MMA fight, you told me, I called you, and I was on a high, even though I lost, but I told you, I was like, man, this sucks. It's like, I didn't see you fight that guy. I saw you were trying to fight yourself. You were beating up yourself in that ring, because I went in that fight already kind of almost maybe doubting myself, because I was fighting myself, my image, like, oh, what if I lose? What are they gonna think of that? And I think that's our perception is, once you're able to not really care what people may think of you, because most likely nobody thinks of you. Like when I go see my friends compete or anybody compete, win or lose, I see it, I was like, great match, two hard people, great match, I don't care who won or lost, I wouldn't congratulate them both. But when it's us doing it, we create this perception like, oh, this person is gonna hate me, and it's not true. Once you're able to separate that, things become a little bit easier. Still, it's still hard to do things, but I think it will lead you to more of a successful path.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great message, man. On a last note, what's a message that you can give to people that are either not sure how to move forward with what they want to do, or how to believe in themselves? Like, what's a tool or tip you can give them?
Well, a few things. I always suggest listening to people, no matter where they're from, what they do. Somebody has gone through something that you may have not. I think everybody's input is valuable. There's always something to learn, to take away from somebody. If somebody has more money than you, that doesn't matter, man. Who cares about that? When you die, you can't take that shit with you. So treat everybody the same. That's how I see it, because you can always learn from somebody. I learn every day. I've been in the industry for going on over 15 years when it comes to doing art. I have kids that just started 2 years in. I don't look at them like, oh, I know everything. I go to them because I see stuff that they're like, man, that's cool. So it doesn't matter the age. Like, always be willing to learn. I think for me that's the most important thing. And don't doubt people. Like, everybody has something to offer. And jiu-jitsu, I would say, if you're lacking of confidence, or just want that push, I think jiu-jitsu is something that everybody should learn and know. And it's a gentle sport. It could get rough, but it is a gentle sport that is, you don't have to be strong, buff. You could be any type of human being and be able to learn jiu-jitsu and be very successful at it. You don't have to compete. You could just come in and just get your training in, and it will help you. It will help you with stuff outside of work. It will help you with your health. I don't know, man. It's just it changed my life, really. But also, like, my life started changing once I met you and following your footsteps. I mean, I wasn't going to become a professional fighter, but I wanted to experience what you experienced on a professional level, because I found that very inspiring. And I listened to you, right? Not when I fought, but but I try to listen to you. Yeah, man. I think that's really it, right?
I mean, that's awesome, and I'm extremely happy for you and your career and everything that's
thanks,
turned
man.
into, and it's been an amazing ride for as many years.
We're still going.
I know,
Yeah.
for as many years we've had, and I can't wait to see what comes next.
Yeah, man.
You're an absolutely incredible artist.
Thank
and,
you. I appreciate
your
it.
story is inspiring. Where can people find your art?
You could go on my Instagram, Art by Adil.
We'll post it up on the YouTube
Awesome!
channel.
Yeah. My art is there. During October month, I just started this thing, Inktober, and what it is you do a sketch a day, And that's how I kind of started rolling into. I kind of started losing passion for art because I was doing so much art at work that I couldn't find the motivation to do it at home. And what I decided to do was I'm gonna just ask people to submit a drawing of themselves, because I love MMA, I love jiu-jitsu, and I asked them to submit a picture of them doing jiu-jitsu, and I would sketch it, and that kind of brought the motivation back of me just sketching people.
Yeah.
And not only gaining that motivation back to just do art, but I only love to do jiu-jitsu and MMA art, but also I started learning jiu-jitsu through doing my art, because you start seeing submissions, you start seeing holes, because when you draw somebody, you could see, oh, an underhook could have went there or whatever, right? Anyway, so I started doing that, and then the jiu-jitsu community was very responsive, very awesome. Like, I made so many friends.
That's awesome.
So many black belts invited me to their gyms, from Brazil to Greece to Texas to just everybody would, and I'm kind of doing it now as not on a daily basis, but whatever drawings I haven't finished yet, I try to still draw that, and I try to do it twice a week. So just follow me. You never know, you may get lucky, and if I see some cool picture that I like, I'll take a snap of it and then sketch you.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
There you go.
find me on Art by Adil.
Cool.
Art by Adil, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for coming on, brother.
Thanks for having me,
Awesome
man.
time.
I appreciate it.
TJ?
Thank you for sharing, AD. Good stuff.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? La Jefa?
No?
Cool. Well, this is the Savage Hour podcast. Until next time, check out our other episodes. Subscribe to the channel. Follow us on YouTube. All of our podcast episodes are available just on about every platform. We will see you guys next time. Live life as a champion. This is the Savage Hour podcast. Hey guys, if you like this episode, follow the podcast and subscribe to our YouTube channel.